have a lot of experience in your career and you're trying to not do it again. Being a different team and come back here is big for me because I learned a lot of things from those teams too, and come here and give it to my teammates, you know. And I just want them to be a good person and good leaders, man. Because I don't know if I'm gonna be here next year.
Right.
And that's what I'm gonna give it to my teammates, to my guys here. And I just told him, if you're a good person, you're gonna be a good leader and a good teammate. So.
Do you think you learned anything with Minnesota and Boston that
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we're trying to make the thing hard, and you gotta do it easy. I mean, make the thing easy. I mean, simple. Because when you're trying too much, you're not gonna get the results that you wanted. You go out there and you think that this is a pitch, just throw it. You know, that's the conviction. If you have a conviction, you just gotta go out there and do it. I mean, believe. And no matter what, you have to go out there and compete. You know, guys, me. I mean, I don't care if I get about 3, 5, 10 runs. I'm gonna go out there and do my job. You know, we play 9 innings. We don't play 2 innings. Don't be afraid to go and do exercise, man. Okay? You're still the same guy.
you're saying still have a nice show?
I know. Yeah, but you know, I'm happy to be back at home and you know, talk with the trainers and clubbies and front offices. It's good, man. And now it's time to play baseball.
It's your same locker?
Yes. I don't have nobody next to me, I think, because I'm old and better now, so. But it's happy to see you guys again, and I'm available to talk to you guys anytime.
Except for me.
I don't know, if you have to lose weight, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore.
When you look back on your time here, what do you wish you had done better when you look back?
I'm gonna say nothing, man. Because what you done, man. So I think I was a different guy mentally. Now I got different mentality. Grow up a little bit more, got more experience, and just I'm gonna do the thing with my conviction. If the mind tell me to one thing to do, I'm gonna do it. I do it right. No.
No, it was great being back out there. You know, it's been a tough offseason, not being able to communicate with the coaches, and you know, I've heard great things about our new hitting staff, and so I was super excited to get to work with them. So getting the first day in the cage with those guys, and we made some adjustments on my swing path and some different drills that we were trying out, and saw some early success in batting practice and throughout the day. So that was exciting, and continue with those adjustments and try and become better.
Usually when you make an adjustment like that, you've got an entire offseason to send video to your coaches, regular communication. As best I understand it, they kind of had like a talk with you,
right,
and then turned you loose. Is that how that?
Yeah, so we had it happened quick. Yeah, we had a Zoom where I met with the new coaches, and they kind of came up with a quick plan that they wanted me to do on my own this offseason. And so I had drills and stuff that I was doing, but yeah, there was times where I'm doing stuff and I wasn't exactly sure if I was doing it right, and I didn't really have anyone to communicate with. So that part of it was tough. But having that plan going into the offseason was exciting for me, even though I was limited early on with my swings because of my elbow. So just having that clear plan of where we wanted to go and what direction we wanted to go with my swing was good.
So how would you explain the change that you made to your swing?
Yeah, so it's more of just like a bat path. So how my bat comes through the zone, trying to stay through the ball more and not so much rotational around the ball, because my miss hits are typically on the ground to the pull side. So trying to make my miss hits more in the air, kind of to center field. So everything directionally going that way. And so, yeah, that's really the big thing, is more of just how my bat's coming through the zone.
Eli, from the time you were able to start swinging until the lockout, how many times do you think you were able to like get together with Donnie and Tim and talk or share video?
So the first time I was able to get together with them, I actually wasn't able to swing yet. So I wasn't able to swing until end of December, and the lockout, I can't remember the exact date, but it was before that. So by the time I was swinging, I had videos and stuff that they wanted me to, the drills they wanted me to do, but I wasn't able to have that collaboration with them back and forth of this is what I'm doing, like what do you think, like sending them video and stuff like that.
So, I mean, that leads me to my next question, which is, when they're talking about stuff, it's all in theory, and not having coaches to work with, like, to see the video or in hand. I know by the sound of the bat and things like how, but they talked a lot about how well you were able to apply it. Why do you think you were so able to kind of apply what they were philosophical
Yeah.
about?
Well, I mean, I think it goes to, just how they communicate, and just a couple times talking to them, they were able to relay what they wanted me to do, and, it painted a clear picture for the path that, they wanted me to be on, and I bought into it. And so I think just how they relayed that information, even though we didn't get a ton of time talking, I think that just shows that, they're good at what they do. And so I was able to pick up on what they wanted and apply it, even though I was on my own.
Were you anxious to get feedback from them yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know about anxious, but yeah, I was excited. Yeah, I was curious.
Excited the better word.
Yeah.
I'm not good with words.
Right, yeah. No, so, yeah, I was excited to, because I felt good about how things were going this offseason. And, I have a hitting coach back home and that I work with closely. And, I talked to him about what these guys wanted me to work on. So he kind of kept me on track this offseason. But, yeah, I was excited to, kind of show off what I was able to feel like I accomplished this offseason.
So you're pretty happy with where I know there's always work to be done, but
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
happy with where you're at right
I am. Yeah, I definitely see strides from, I didn't feel good, obviously, about how I swung the bat last year. So I wanted to get to work, and it was tough that having this injury that kind of held me back a little bit. So, but yeah, I mean, whenever I could get in the cage, I was getting after it and doing everything I can to try and get better.
Physically, how are you feeling right now?
I feel great. Yeah, I feel better than I have in years past. My elbow feels awesome. I'm excited. It feels stronger than ever. Body feels good. I was able to get a full off season of workouts in. So overall, I feel great physically.
Last thing for me, did anyone else on the team, like a lot of us, not recognize you when you got to camp this year?
Yeah, there's a couple people that had to double take.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was able to sneak by a few people without them seeing me. So yeah.
What was the motivation to want to grow the beard out?
It just kind of happened naturally. I've always shaved every day, and then when I had surgery, I couldn't really shave with my right arm, so I didn't know I could really grow facial hair. So it's just kind of like something that 2 weeks after not shaving, I was like, oh, I got a little facial hair. Let's see what happens with this. So yeah, it's a little good change for me. Yeah.
So you surprised everybody with the beard, but I also get the impression that you surprised everybody with how far along you were in the throwing.
Yeah.
Did you get that sense from you?
Yeah, I think so. I had meetings early on, and I think I was a little further along physically than guys thought I would be. So yeah, I'm trying to relay the message that I'm ready to go. I've got one more week of my throwing program, but I've been staying on top of everything with my arm, and I had an awesome physical therapist back home that was helping me out. So I feel really good about where I'm at, and I'm ready to hit the ground running.
But you threw the bases yesterday.
I did, yeah.
That was first time.
That was the first time actually throwing the bases. So most of my throwing has just been a throwing program, but I feel like I've been, without throwing the bases, I've been, working on the footwork and stuff in my throwing program, and doing different things to try and make that transition as smooth as possible.
And was that? You have 3 weeks to come up with some kind of roster, whatever complications are involved.
Yep.
We know this is all going to be a work in progress. Can you make well-informed decisions in 3 weeks?
We were just talking about that yesterday. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. It's really difficult to make the decision we probably would want to with the most information possible, and we can't. We know that. I told the players that yesterday. It's impossible for us based on innings and at bats. And the one thing we do want to see is the readiness of these guys. Are they executing? If a guy goes out and gives up a 3-run homer and doesn't get through his inning, he's not going to be able to make up the difference in the next 3 outings, even if he doesn't give up a hit or a walk or strikes every other guy out. He's still going to have a 7 ERA, like, potentially. So we can't look into those things. We can't look at small sample size. We got to look and we got to dig in a little bit to see how these guys really are performing. But numbers aside, like, it's going to be tough, and it's going to be tough on some of our players. We're going to make the decision regardless. We're going to have to put 26 guys on a roster. There's going to be some guys that aren't going to be happy, but we just got to communicate that the best we can.
Kind of along the lines of the shortened spring training, you've got 3 catchers right now that are hoping to be on the big league roster. Is the shortened spring training, does that make that decision more complicated? Because you got a new guy that you've already said you want to hit 3 or 4, but he doesn't really know the pitchers yet. He's trying to learn that. You got the 2 guys that know the pitchers. They're fighting for ostensibly the backup job. Like, that's complicated.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, that's probably one decision that's going to be really tough to make because, obviously Mitch we got for a reason. He's going to get, the bulk of the at-bats, and, how much he catches is going to be up to health. But, the other 2 guys, it's probably one of the positions where one won't be happy. And maybe they both deserve it, and, one feels like they deserve it over the other, and shoot, maybe one actually hits better than the other, or, and we actually go with the opposite just based on what we're seeing out there. So, I'm not looking forward to that conversation. I'm looking forward to one way or the other to get the team ready, but at the same time, those are going to be tough conversations.
So given everything that's taken place, and we've talked about, like, in particular, I'm looking at, like, some individual position kind of things, but, like, we've talked about Andy at third base. There's no opportunity for, like, he can't lose third base in 3 weeks, can he?
No,
He may not keep
I
it
think it's just a
long-term.
matter of how much he plays.
Right.
I think that's where we're at with a lot of the positions. You look at Solak kind of in the same position. Probably get more reps in the outfield, with Solak and left field. And, you look at the platoon opportunities we have on the field, and we're, I think it's the amount of at-bats they get heading into the season. Do they start every single day? Probably not. So I look at Andy, if he's, as it stands right now, maybe get the bulk of the at-bats, but that doesn't mean he's playing every single day. We're going to try to obviously have guys, if they're on the team, I want them to have a role on the team. I don't want these guys to be just sitting on the bench. It's like, if we can have some platoon advantages out there, that'd be beneficial, especially with some of the splits we have with our players, and we're maximizing our guys. We're putting them in the best position possible to succeed. So as far as Andy goes, if he hits, and he plays the position really well and hits at a high clip, like, he may end up being the everyday guy, but he's got to earn that. I'm not going to hand that to him right now. He's got to earn his way through that.
Is there anybody else that, I don't want to say pressure, but is there anybody who, in this 3-week period of time, can make or expand their potential role to go into the season?
Yes. I mean, there's circumstances that maybe fall in line with that. You look at injuries or just lack of performance on the other side. But to say a guy just goes out in Arizona and hits 600, we're going to try to not get caught up in that, unless we cannot, unsee what we've seen. And we're like, okay, we can't ignore this. This guy's taking a huge step forward. That's what I said. If you look at swings, how much this guy's chasing, is he staying in the strike zone? Is he, and we put it all together and we go, okay, this guy's going to hit the ground running. Maybe we give him a pretty good runway to start the year. I guess in Eli White, if he's ready, like I talked about yesterday, if he all of a sudden just turns it on and is a different player than we've seen in the past, it has to show a lot different, though, to warrant that. And I just don't think 3 weeks is enough time for that to happen, but you never know.
Just for
How do you not get caught up, like, in the stats and, like you said, like hitting 500 in Arizona? Like,
Depends on what it looks like. I mean, if he's absolutely, like Adolis last year, for example, he was their best player in camp. Like, he was by far our best player in the batter's box, on the field, on the bases. Like, he didn't make our team. So and that was a full camp. This year, it's if we have a guy like that, and he's showing those signs. We ended up getting called up, took an injury to do it, but maybe if a guy's closer than Adolis was last year, then maybe that kind of leapfrogs him over somebody else, and he actually makes our team. But I don't think that just the opening day is going to define our roster on the pitching side or even on the offensive side. If guys come up, and it's a little different to start the season. You always see it in spring training, and we've talked about it a ton as a staff. I've seen it throughout my career as a player, seen it throughout my career as a coach now. Guys can not fool you, but Arizona air, guys are working through things. Hitters aren't ready. Typically pitch one. They're taking a lot of strikes, so pitchers may look a little bit better. Hitters may look a little better because they're ambushing fastballs. Once you start getting into where it matters, the truth is revealed most times. So we're trying to see what that truth would truly look like before we can.
18 games. How many at-bats can your regulars?
I was just looking through that yesterday, just trying to sort it through. I mean, most time they don't play back-to-back, so it's, you got 9 games at 3 at-bats. It's not very many at-bats, so we're going to have to supplement that somehow.
Backfield.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have minor league camp started. They're playing games, maybe live BPs, maybe backfield game where they can just go in and get 5 or 6 at-bats, 27 plus 15 to 20. Now you're looking at a better number.
Somewhere between 40 and 50.
I would like that, especially our regular guys, and they want it. A lot of these guys want to play from day one, so that's a good sign.
And your pitchers get 4 starts, 2, 3, 4.
Not a lot of innings.
5, 9. No, they can't.
Yeah, it's not very many, and that's for our starters. That's why we gotta be mindful of it and not try to rush it. But at the same time, like, hey, if they're ready, by the time John Gray gets to the last start, hopefully he's ready to start the season. He may be at 65 to 70 pitches. 2 starts in, he'll be fine. He'll be built up to 100. I'm not worried about it. If he's going to make 30-something starts, hopefully 2 starts isn't going to kill us if he can only go 4 or 5 innings.
We talked yesterday a lot about Corey's leadership, styles changing, but Marcus seems a little bit different in that he seems a little more vocal than maybe Corey. Is that the vibe? Am I getting that vibe correctly?
I think so. I think he's just more comfortable in his role in that. And listen, I don't ever want to, in leadership, push somebody to be somebody they're not. I want it to be authentic. I promote that from our staff standpoint, like, be yourself. So when you look at Marcus and Corey, like, I'm not asking Corey to come in here and be the savior, of the team. I'm expecting him to do what he has done. And now he has a lot of thoughts on things. He loves to, to share his opinion on, like, how the guys are playing, how guys are preparing. He'll hold those guys accountable. So if it's a subtle conversation, if he sees a young guy, not recovering after a game or, doing whatever, and he's not preparing for a game, he's not afraid to tell him. Whereas Marcus might be a little bit more vocal about it, speak up in a meeting or something like that. They're different styles. And like I said, I want to make sure that I fully support both their styles because we need everybody's, especially their leadership, especially when it comes to the way they do things and the way they interact with their teammates and their staff and show a good example. They're 2 of the best I've ever been around.
Now that the signing's official, we can talk about Martin Perez and what do you envision for him, not only like in his role, but also the leadership that he can bring to the team.
Yeah, no, he's, I've had the chance. I never had him, obviously heard a ton about him before I got here. He had just left. So I always asked a lot about him, like, what was Martin like? What was Martin like? And got a chance to talk to him last year in Boston a little bit and always voiced his desire to come back. He loved it here, loved the people here. It's obviously a different staff, but he loves the organization. So I think for me, he's reliable. He's got 9 years of big league service time. He's a veteran guy. He's been, at 20 years old, I think he was in the big leagues. So, he's been through some ups and downs, had a ton of success and had some failure at times. So just a really good guy to kind of lean on for a lot of our younger starters, like what that feels like and looks like as a young, pitcher in the big leagues and the things that they're going to have to go through. And he wanted that. He wanted to kind of help out. He's a good spirit, man. He's just positive energy every day. He's grateful for the opportunity, grateful to, be in a uniform every day. And we need that energy. We thrive off that energy, and we have a ton of guys like that, but we don't have a ton of guys with 9 years of service time. So when you get a guy like that, people are going to look at him and respect him. I think he he's never really had that role. You know, I mean, he had it a little bit in Boston, but I think he'll thrive in that role.
Okay, so obviously we've been